What's going on, everyone, here on YouTube? I hope that y'all are doing well today. So, I was trying to think of something to talk about, something that I haven't done already, because, yes, there's going to be more gaming stuff coming up. As soon as I get to playing more of the GameCube stuff and the Wii stuff, those videos will be released. I also do have in mind a part 2 for the PS3 collection. But it's not going to be a huge video because I've shown off pretty much most of my PS3 stuff. But after realizing having about 10 more titles, because I ordered a few from eBay, and I also have a few loose disc games. I decided, it's time for a part 2. Even though I did the PS3 collection update video just a few weeks ago, but I'd like to get that out of the way. But not today. We are going to be talking about the top 20 comic book superheroes. I think it's something that is fresh for me because I've never really talked about it before. There's many videos that I have talked about video game related, and I've done the top 15 list, top 20 list. That is pretty much done and over with now because I don't really have anything to talk about on that particular subject. So that don't don't count on any more of those. That's pretty much done. Um, and I wouldn't count on any more pickups videos because that's pretty much over with too. But there are a few games that I picked up, so you'd think, yeah, I should do a part 18, you know. But I'm just gonna show them in the comic book video that I have coming up very soon. But anyways, into the video. You guys came to hear me talk about the video, of course. This is going to be on my top 20 favorite superheroes of all time. Um, there isn't a lot of females on the list because I feel that a lot of the female superheroes suck and are gimmicky and they're not very good. I'm just not into Black Canary. I'm not into the Birds of Prey like that. Um, Although I know that that movie had Harley Quinn in it, which was interesting because aren't the Birds of Prey supposed to be superheroes? Why is Harley Quinn like the lead role of that? Like, I don't know. I didn't. I also didn't follow the Birds of Prey growing up. I read the very basic comic books. I read Batman. I read The Punisher. I read Spider Man. I had a Richie Rich comic book as a kid. It was like the first comic book that I had. Hold on a second. I had I had a Smokey the Bear comic book as a kid, and other than that, I had Batman, Spider Man, Bionicle. I read a little bit of Daredevil, a little bit of Iron Man. I read The Punisher. You know that's basically it. Like I didn't. I read the Flash and Green Lantern as well, but that was basically it. I didn't know Thor. I didn't know. I had one or two Hulk comic books, but I wasn't like a die-hard reader. Like, like it had to go to Batman and Bionicle and Spider Man. I was into those three the most, and the Punisher. Um, I didn't read a lot of comic books growing up. Because I didn't have the money. I got an allowance. My allowance was only like $2 or $3 starting out. And when I would find comic books, I would find them at the antique shops. The antique shops would sell it. They had this one that was out about an hour away or 45 minutes away from where I live. We used to go there and they had different vendors and they had different people selling different things. And there's this one guy who used to sell comic books for 50 cents and I bought a couple of them off of him. You know, but I only bought the comic books that I knew. I wasn't gonna buy anything crappy like Archie and Jughead and fucking Beetle Bailey and bullshit like that. I wasn't gonna buy that. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And I didn't buy comic books that I didn't know. So, anyways, we're like 10 minutes into this video or 8 minutes into this video already, and I'm rambling on, not talking about the top 20 superheroes. I just had to get that off of my chest because I wanted y'all to know. I read the very basic stuff. So for me, the number one superhero of all time, I'm going forward. I'm not going to go backwards. It's too difficult to remember going backwards. But the number one superhero for me was always Batman. Batman defined DC in such a good way. He's basically a man trained as a martial artist to kick ass. He was trained as an assassin originally, but he decided, I don't really want to be an assassin. They tried to make him an assassin. League of Shadows or League of Assassins, and he refused. And everybody died in that group except him and that one other guy that is spared. He saved his life. They showed that in Batman Begins, that movie. So that's part of how it became Batman. Also, the death of his parents, because they were killed by an evil man. And I was always a little perplexed, confused about it, because the man that shot his parents, sometimes they say that it was the Joker that killed his parents, and other times it doesn't really specify if the Joker actually killed his parents. So that part of Batman I never understood. He's basically a billionaire, Bruce Wayne. And by day he's Bruce Wayne, by night he's Batman, he's fighting crime. Um, Batman's just a great superhero overall. The fact that he could beat anybody up without no superpowers, but is trained in martial arts and has a utility belt that he wears around his stomach, goes to show how much of a badass he is. And he is the best superhero, I feel, on DC, because honestly, I feel like Marvel is is much stronger when it comes to characters and more interesting storylines. I feel like Marvel has it more so than DC. There's a few people on DC that are good, but most of them, they're not my cup of tea. They suck. They're garbage. They're fucking gimmicky, and they're crap. You know. But Batman, very good. Number two is The Crow. The Crow, if you didn't know, there was several Crow films. We have officially 5 Crow movies. The newest one being was Bill Skarsgård, although I heard it's crap. I heard it's not a very good movie. It only got 22 or 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Um, so that's a shame. I didn't watch it either because it's rated R. I've only seen the first Crow film with Brandon Lee, which, yeah, I know it's R rated. I shouldn't have watched it because I'm a Christian. But I did see it, and I got to say that Brandon Lee definitely delivered the Crow film very well. It's basically a musician named Eric Draven who dies. He gets killed by a ruthless mob gang, and they kill his girlfriend too. They raped and killed her, and then just like a year or two later, the bird comes pecking at his gravestone and wakes him up, gets him up, gives him supernatural abilities, like being shot by gun wounds and things like that don't kill him. He becomes immortal, and once he realizes that, he wants to avenge the death of his fiancée and himself from the gang, and he kills every single one of those gang members, even Top Dollar. And yeah, it was a great story, but it's definitely not PG or PG-13. The Crow is more on the R-rated level because of the sexual content, the language, and the violence being a bit more intense. You know, the bullets flying, and sword fighting, and stabbing, and shootings, and blood, a little bit of blood. You know, so it's definitely not for a kid. That comic book is suggested for mature readers, and it is an R-rated comic book, I think, or close to it. I mean, the movies are all R. But the Crow is a good comic book character, created by James O'Barr. You know, I wish James O'Barr would talk to the movie producers and say, "Hey, enough is enough. You keep screwing up my Crow movies. They suck." Okay, the one with Brandon Lee was good because it had action in it, and it was just done really well. Then the one with Vincent Perez, The Crow 2, The City of Angels. Um, it wasn't as well received, honestly, but it is because of Harvey Weinstein messing with it. That piece of shit, you know, that dude's a pedophile. You know, that guy's, we know that guy sucks. That guy's wacko. But that comic book, the movie, the second movie, he screwed it up. You know, it was a good storyline, and he screwed it up because he fucked with the movie, you know, the CGI and shit. And then Salvation, which actually was pretty good, I'll admit, it was pretty good, but it was more of a thriller and didn't have enough action in it. So, looking at face value, if it had had some action in it, it would have been a better film. And then the one with Edward Furlong, which is a disgrace of a film. It sucks so bad. And the one that came out last year with Bill Skarsgård that I heard was no good because the majority of the film he's just screwing around, not really doing too much. Just asked him, "Where's the killer? Who killed me? Who killed my girlfriend? This and that and the other thing." And then like 20 minutes into the movie, finally gets some action. It's like, that's pathetic. So the best one is with Brandon Lee. Alright, moving on. Number 3 is Spider-Man. I would have put Spider-Man higher, but I think The Crow is slightly better than Spider-Man. The one problem with Spider-Man is that he gets his butt kicked at first, but eventually he comes back and he wins. You know, with Batman, every move is thought out well. He never gets his ass kicked or his ass handed to him. You know, he's good. He's a good fighter. But with Spider-Man, you know, and the Crow too. The Crow knows how to handle himself pretty well. But with Spider-Man, I just feel like he lacks a little bit of charisma, you know. He is a bit of a baby at times. Um, but he is still a great superhero. He really is. I mean, his powers that he got from being stung by a radioactive spider, which caused him to, which caused him to eventually become Spider-Man after the death of his Uncle Ben, you know, and the whole Goblin thing that was out there. I've seen the movie, so I know. I've also read the comic books ever since I was a little kid. I was like 8 years old or 9 years old when I finally got to read a Spider-Man comic book. Or maybe no, I actually think I was a little bit older than that. I might have been 12 because antique shops were not carrying these superheroes. They were carrying the crappy comic books, the Beetle Baileys, and the Looney Tunes was legit. I liked Looney Tunes. But they weren't really carrying a lot of superhero comic books, so I couldn't find them. I didn't know about Earthworld comic books at the time either. But yeah, Spider-Man's cool. He's a good superhero. Moving on. Number four. Number four for me, it has to be Iron Man. I think Iron Man's a great superhero. Basically a billionaire or a millionaire named Tony Stark. Gets into the suit, fights bad guys. He's a total badass. Iron Man's really cool. You know, with his the thing he's got in his hand, obliterate enemies and stuff. I really like Iron Man. I think Iron Man's cool. It's a good superhero, and I definitely recommend reading some of the Iron Man comic books. Number 5 has to be the Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles are awesome. Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo, and also their sensei, which is a rat. And they all work together to defeat Shredder and his evil henchmen. These boars and these other creatures that they fight. And they train them from just these little turtles, part of his team, because the rat was getting his butt kicked, and then the rat sort of left because I think he used to work for Shredder, and then eventually he left, and he's like, yeah, the hell with Shredder, I'm gonna find a team of my own. He came across these little turtles. They were pretty much just babies, and eventually he raised them into ninjas and fed them pizza. That's why their favorite food is pizza, you know. So yeah, the Ninja Turtles are pretty awesome. Even as a kid, I loved watching the Ninja Turtles because the Ninja Turtles are just badass. I thought they were more badass than the Power Rangers, honestly. That's just my opinion, though. But the Ninja Turtles are cool. I think they started off on DC. Now they're on IDW, which is a comic book company. So that's interesting. They're not on Marvel and they're not on DC anymore. They're on IDW. Number 6 has to be the Shadow. The Shadow's a pretty awesome superhero, in my opinion. It's kind of a vigilante in a way. He can sort of disappear when the bad guys are after him. He's a guy that wears a hat, you know, has guns and stuff. He's not a cop or anything, but he's pretty awesome too. He's a pretty awesome DC superhero or vigilante. Number 7 is the Punisher. The Punisher is definitely a good one. I know some people wouldn't put the Punisher on their list because they think that the Punisher is not a superhero. They think that the Punisher is more of a vigilante. Basically, his name's Frank Castle. He was the only one from his family to survive the mob shootings, the massive shootings from that terrible mob gang, because they shot him, but he had a bulletproof vest on. He was in the water, when they shot him. So they thought he was dead and they moved on. But he swam ashore. And then once he found out that his family was killed, he saw a few bodies that he came across. He's like, yeah, I gotta get these guys. And that's exactly what he did. He started picking them off one by one by one by one. And he did it so successfully, too. He wanted to get revenge, basically, on the death of his family. And the mob leader eventually started to notice that he was still alive. Like, yeah, we gotta get him, kick his ass, and this, and that. But failed at doing so, The Punisher is a badass. He's really cool. I like the skull that he's got on his chest for his Punisher thing. Yeah. And he was once a cop as well. He was. But then he kind of went rogue, The Punisher's awesome. Plain and simple. Number 8 is Daredevil. I like Daredevil. I think Daredevil is a good superhero. The fact that he's a blind man but can still fight crime is amazing, Basically, a truck fell on him with toxic poisons and stuff, causing him to become blind. But he survived the accident, but he was never the same after that. It's just too bad that movie with Ben Affleck sucked so bad. I mean, I was disappointed in that movie. That movie sucked. I talked about that in my DVD collection. That movie was terrible. The movie sucked so bad. I was disappointed. But Marvel. It took a while for Marvel to find their stomping grounds because in the '90s, I don't think it was until the late '90s they started really making comic book movies. But a lot of them, unfortunately, they really sucked. Starting out, Electro, that movie sucked. Daredevil, that movie sucked. The Hulk movie, that movie wasn't really that good. It wasn't until like X-Men and Spider-Man and The Punisher from 2004. I will defend that movie. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know why some people hated that movie. I thought it was a good movie. Tom Lane did a good job as Punisher. Although I do know that Tom Lane is kind of an asshole, not a very nice guy in real life. He's a dick towards the people that come to him asking for autographs. Anyways, Daredevil's pretty cool. I like Daredevil. He's a good superhero. Number 9, I would say Black Panther. Black Panther's also a good superhero. Very cool. They made a movie about that several years ago. Before Chadwick Boseman died, and he played Black Panther. Thought he did a good job as Black Panther. You know, basically a chosen one to become Black Panther and fight crime. And it was a good comic book series. Good movie too. I only knew about Black Panther though because I saw the movie. Had it not have been for Marvel putting the movie out, I probably wouldn't have known who Black Panther was. Number 10 has to go to who would I give it to? The X-Men. The X-Men's really cool. Yeah, gotta give it to the X-Men because they're awesome. You know, Rogue, Storm, Professor Xavier, Beast, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Gambit. These are all really awesome superheroes. Jean Grey. And they are fighting against the other X-Men, like Magneto and his team, Toad and Mystique, and a few other characters, because they're the X-Men that wants to gain control, and they don't really care about killing human beings. But there are other X-Men that want to help human beings and save the world. So that's what Charles Xavier wanted to do. He thought that all the X-Men would be equal, but as it turned out, that wasn't so. Because some of them, they were full of vengeance and pridefulness, and they just wanted to kill and murder people and take over the world. Whereas Charles Xavier believed in peace and hope and tranquility. Others didn't. Magneto did not. So, but it's good. It's a good comic book series that I definitely recommend you guys check out. And the movies were all pretty good. Every single one that they did was good except the last one, Dark Phoenix. That was a disaster. That movie sucked. Don't watch Dark Phoenix. Don't have high expectations for Dark Phoenix because it wasn't a good movie. But all the other ones were pretty good. It's just too bad that they did not go out with a bang. They went out with a flop, in my opinion. Alright, number 11 is the X-Force. The X-Force is pretty cool. A lot of people don't talk about the X-Force, but I like the X-Force. I think they are a bunch of good superheroes that work together, the 4 of them. You know, I think Cable was part of it. They're a good team. I enjoy them. Number 13 is Batgirl. I like Batgirl. I think she's hot. She's hot. Come on, Barbara Gordon fighting this Batgirl. She's hot. But it's not just the fact that she's hot. She fights crime very well and saves innocent people. She does a very good job at it. As far as Batman's sidekick, besides Robin and Nightwing, does a really good job as Batgirl. She holds her own. She's awesome. I am a fan of Batgirl, one of the few female superheroes that I enjoy. Number 14 has to go to Black Widow. I think Black Widow is also a badass. Actually, I think I would put... Oh, what the hell. We'll just put Black Widow here. Black Widow's pretty cool. I like that movie. I thought the movie was pretty good. It wasn't like astounding amazingly, or amazing rather, but it was good enough, you know, for Scarlett Johansson being in it, and I think she plays the role pretty well, you know, for Black Widow. Black Widow's part of the Avengers, you know, one of the only female superheroes in the Avengers, but she holds her own, does well, fighting crime and kicking butt. Number 15 is Elektra. In my opinion, Elektra started out as a villain, but once you started to see the other assassins come along, killing innocent people in her village, she became a good person and started helping people out. You know, her real name was Elektra, but she just used it for her superhero persona, Elektra. Elektra Nachos was her last name. Yeah, and she's a total badass. A total badass. A ninja, assassin, turned into like a rogue woman, kicks all sorts of ass. Yeah, definitely recommend Elektra. Now we're at number 16. I'd say Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is pretty cool from the X-Men. But Nightcrawler is awesome and definitely worth checking out. I like that he can teleport from place to place. It's pretty cool. That's a cool power to have. He is definitely one of my favorite X-Men characters. Number 17 is Green Lantern. Green Lantern is part of DC, yes. I have a few DC characters on here. But I think Green Lantern is pretty awesome. You know, he has the power of the rings, you know. I can use the rings to his advantage, picking up items and hitting people in the head with like a hammer or something, a green hammer or whatever. Saving people with like a little grappling hook from them falling off the cliff and things like that. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I definitely recommend him. Number 18 is the Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk is pretty awesome. The Hulk is like stronger than Superman in my opinion. I ain't no fan of Superman if you're wondering. I never was. I never cared for Superman whatsoever. But the Hulk is pretty awesome. I've seen something fan made here on YouTube of them talking about having Superman fight the Hulk. In my honest opinion, I felt like the Hulk won that match. But then again, it was fan made and not really realistic or meant to be taken seriously. I mean, it's entertainment. But it wasn't wildly produced either, so it was like kind of fake in a way if you think about it. But the Hulk is pretty awesome. Like, he's Bruce Banner, was a scientist, eventually got that green power in him. You can't make him angry, because if he gets really angry, he turns into the Incredible Hulk. Now, I know the Hulk gets kind of mad over stupid things sometimes, but you know, there are reasons sometimes where he gets mad. You know, Hulk is like damn near indestructible. Like, you could hit him with a tank and he'll still get up and walk away. Try to break his back will be broken, but because of his power, it automatically heals him. So, the Hulk is a certified badass, in my opinion. Alright, and now we're at number 20, I believe. I'll add one more just in case I screwed up the count. I would say probably Hawkman. Hawkman's pretty cool. Or Hawkeye. Yeah, he's pretty awesome too for a superhero character. I think he was originally a part of the Avengers, but yeah, he was. And Hawkeye is really cool. Like that bow and arrow that he throws, you know, and him fighting crime and whatnot. He's a good character, and the Marvel franchise, the Hawkeye is definitely one that I recommend checking out. And the only other superhero that I can think of off the top of my head that I really enjoy, that I read as a kid, is Robin. I mean, Robin being the sidekick of Batman, he's just a good superhero, you know? He really aids Batman well and listens well to Batman as much as he can. And he's a good sidekick, you know? Later on, he joins the Teen Titans with Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg. They work together to fight crime, you know, as the leader. You know, Robin was good. It really was. Titans, go! You know, I like that cartoon as well, that original Teen Titans cartoon. I hated Teen Titans Go, though. That show really sucks. But he was good in Batman the Animated Series, and he was also good in the Teen Titans cartoon, you know. So that's my list. I'm sure that there's a few others that I'm forgetting. Like, I know there's a few that I wouldn't consider a superhero, though. I don't consider Lara Croft a superhero or Indiana Jones, but I like reading those comic books. I don't really consider Sherlock Holmes a superhero either. He's more of a detective, you know. Batman's a detective, but he still falls under superhero. He's like the only one that does. Boomerang, he's pretty cool. Oh, Static Shock. Most definitely got to mention Static Shock. Static Shock's pretty awesome. They haven't done much with Static Shock that I know of, but they really should. Because Static Shock really is a good superhero. He has the power of electricity. His real name was Virgil Hawkins. Hawkins. Is it Hawkins? Sorry. Virgil Hawkins. There we go. And he fights crime. And he's a pretty cool superhero. He uses electricity to fight the bad guys. He does it so well. So those are just some of the superheroes that I can think of that I recommend or part of the honorable mentions. What are your top 10 or top 20 favorite superheroes? Comment down in the section below. Comment section below. I'd appreciate it. It would be nice seeing more comments coming through. And please don't forget to subscribe. I'd like to get to 300 subscribers, please. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all and take care. Larry the Batman fan signing off. Peace.